Welcome to the Crystal Coach Show with me, your host, Anahata, helping you live every day with clarity, guidance, and practical wisdom. Are you feeling overwhelmed, anxious, maybe disconnected? Do you ever feel like you don't know how to live a life of peace and joy? I am Anahata Roach, the Crystal Coach, and during this show, we channel divine wisdom through stories of service, spirituality, and stones for self-care. The Crystal Coach Show leaves you with a feeling of connection and the clarity it takes towards becoming the best version of yourself as you hear from thought leaders and many others to help you ignite the crystalline nature of who you really are. Stay tuned. The Crystal Coach Show starts now. Hello and welcome to the Crystal Coach Show. I'm your host, Anahata Roach, and I am the Crystal Coach. Today's episode is one that I've had a lot of interest in my doing, and not only from my perspective, but from other people that I know. Are all about caregiving for the caregiver. So caregiving, what is caregiving? Do you or someone that you know have responsibility for the care of an aging relative, a disabled child, or a spouse? If so, you really have found the right place at this right time, because we're all about talking around the topic of what is it around caregiving that makes it stressful. What can we do? You want to do everything for the person that you love, but you've got to do something for you too. And so where's the balance? And today my guest is life coach, professional hypnotist, and certified dementia consultant, Faith Marshall. Faith is making a positive difference in how individuals and families respond to and navigate various forms of dementia that affect loved ones. Faith's mother was diagnosed and later passed from the effects of Alzheimer's. And Mercury's in the microwave. I can't get to my notes anymore.
Oh, just wing it.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So after her mother passed, her world refocused, and she developed an expertise in dementia-related resources and available for families. And she even published a book called I Miss You, Mom, which became an international bestseller. She then founded Dementia Family Coaching, a full-time business that provides education, resources, and support to caregivers and families facing one of the many forms of dementia. So, Faith specializes in meeting patients and families where they are without judgment, from their initial diagnosis to resources about managing care and facing the hard decisions at end of life. Dementia in all its forms can be an unforgiving disease. Through her services, she brings comfort and peace of mind, and even shows families how to allow joy to be present in the journey. She also partners with physicians, physician groups, and corporate organizations to speak at events or launch much needed support programs. Welcome today, my dear friend, Faith Marshall. Thank you so much for being here today. And we're going to talk more broadly than dementia, but because in my situation, for example, I'm taking care of a disabled spouse, and who has all of his faculties. He's just, he can't walk and he can't really move and do things for himself. So, there's other forms of caregiving out there, but dementia eventually, especially if you're working with elder care, is an eventual outcome, is it not?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit, Faith, about just kind of a synopsis about your journey with your mom and how it shaped you and how you kind of felt guided to go into the service work that you're doing now?
Sure. But first, I just want to honor all of the caregivers that are listening today, because it's got to be the hardest job that anyone has ever done. And I just honor you, and I appreciate all the people that did help care for my mom on her journey and other family members. So through that course, looking for answers, searching for help. When we were on mom's journey, I just felt a compassion for anyone who had to go through this and feel so alone like I did.
Mm,
It was 2003, 2006, and there weren't as many resources as there are now. But families are still struggling with getting any direction and answers,
yeah,
um, particularly with dementia, because there's no pill you can just give someone to get better. There's no clinical protocol that's set in place yet. So that's my passion. But all caring for anyone with cancer. Both my dad and my brother had cancer, and I was the end of life caregiver or partner in their care. And comfort care is essential at that point, and making those hard decisions. So what led me to this is just supporting people so they can find the answers to all their questions and
mm,
where to search, how to get respite care. Um, and sometimes the inner workings of a family dynamic in trying to deal with the care of a loved one. It shouldn't always fall on one person, but many times it does, and they
yeah,
need that support. So thank you
absolutely.
for having me here today. This is my passion.
I know it is, and you're quite welcome. I'm just delighted to have you here. Um, so now that you've, like the universe kind of like put you through this trial so that you would say, okay, it's almost like the universe grabbed your hand and said, okay, sweetheart, we're going over here now.
Yep.
And
Like
that's
it
kind
or
of
not, you're
like it or
you're on this
not. I mean, that's the
path.
way that, that happened to me in my corporate, environment. All of a sudden the universe was like, you're going over here, you're going in this direction, you're not doing that anymore. So sometimes we really don't have a choice. But how are you showing up in service today? I mean, with your family services and your coaching aspect.
Um, the local area, I'm in Seattle. I have some one-on-one clients that are face to face where I can go to their home, they can come to the office, um, supporting the family. But by the grace of God, I became a hypnotherapist by accident during
Mm.
COVID by helping a friend be able to teach her course on Zoom. I had no idea. Talk about, shifts. I had no idea that I would love hypnosis and that hypnosis could actually help the niche that I was working with, the
Hmm.
caregiver, the family, in learning how to de-stress a little bit and relax. So I'm excited to say that I have been hypnotizing the actual patients. Doesn't have to
Wow.
even be dementia. It's just when you are diagnosed with anything, there's stress, there's anxiety. And so
Absolutely.
hypnosis, meditation, all of those things are really helpful for that. So it's kind of a mix, like a smorgasbord of what the family needs or what the client needs.
I'm curious about the hypnosis for the actual person that needs the caregiving, especially if that person is already afflicted with the dementia. Uh, how do you do that? I mean, how do you really kind of get them to focus
Well,
on?
for one, I never would have imagined that my mom would have sat still and listened to me try to give her any kind of meditation because she was always on the go and always busy. Um, if you think in a nutshell, if you think of the subconscious mind is not the thinking mind. So
Yes.
dementia is the thinking mind that's having trouble thinking. So when you reach the
Oh.
subconscious and you're soliciting the help of the subconscious
Hmm.
with mobility, memories, sleep, all those things, they're kind of they're together, but they're somewhat separate. So the subconscious remembers a lot more than our conscious mind does, and its job is to kind of protect us.
Hmm.
So helping us to move forward. There's an exercise with dementia clients of audibly them repeating like my daughter's name is Sue. Sue is my daughter. What's your daughter's name? Sue. And that repetitive kind of sinks in. So commercials, for instance, are very hypnotic when they are telling you the phone number and the the how to reach this 3 times, it's sinking in. You may not even realize it. I get to the point where I mute commercials. I don't want that
Right.
programming, right? So
No, no.
yeah.
Call now. Operators are standing by.
Yeah. If that helps kind of,
Yeah.
explain it a little bit. And
Yeah.
and like I said, every patient is in a state of anxiety. I mean, we all are now in this climate, right? But just being able to quiet the monkey mind and be able to breathe. When we get anxious, we forget to breathe, we forget to exhale.
Hmm.
So helping that breathing is a big part of hypnosis and meditation too.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. I get that.
Yeah.
Right. Um, yeah. So when I'm just hearkening back to my experience, my husband and I lived fairly independent lives until he couldn't walk anymore.
Hmm.
And then I had to, and both of us were very upset at first about the situation, because both of us had our wings clipped. We were
Hmm.
used to doing our own thing and then coming together and having that commonality thing that, couples have, right?
The
But
sense of freedom for both of you
yes, yes.
evaporated. Yeah.
It did overnight. And
Mhm.
so it was like, it was really, really difficult to not be. I mean, we had to go through all the stages of grief, really, because
Mhm.
there was a lot of anger and a
Mhm.
lot of denial. And but eventually we kind of settled into a routine, and we know, that it's not going to get any better, but as long as it's stable, it's fine, right?
Mhm.
That's all we can hope for, is like the status quo.
Yeah. And you
Um,
get yourself grounded and you get into a routine so that when the occasional speed bump comes along, you know how to handle it now after being in it for a little bit of time.
yeah,
And the
yeah.
speed bumps are the things that, or the U-turns on
Yes,
the journey are the things that really become obstacles. So getting prepared for that is very helpful.
right,
Yeah.
right. Faith, what is your how do people get a hold of you? How can they find out more about you? What's
The
your
the the
website?
the best place is my website, which is dementiafamilycoaching.com. And through that, there's access to learning more about me, purchasing the book, scheduling a consult. I do what's called a free strategy call. It's 20 to 30 minutes where I can meet you where you are. Everybody's
Mhm.
in a different place on whatever their journey is, whatever their questions are. And in that 20 to 30 minutes, whether we choose to work together beyond that or not, I try to help you with some suggestions or tools that can help solve that immediate, thing that's at the top of your mind. So
Great, great. Okay, so it's dementiafamilycoaching.com, right?
correct. Yeah.
Okay, great. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we have some questions that I've kind of like asked some folks and ask around. And you've got some questions that you usually get asked. And we're going to kind of go through some of those kind of top of mind FAQs, if you will, around caregiving, or tips and hacks that caregivers can use to break the monotony, or break or come down from the stress level and find some inner peace, and all of this sort of stuff. So we've got lots and lots of good information still on the way. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. Hi there. Welcome back to the Crystal Coach Show. I'm your host, Anahata, and I'm talking today with my guest, Faith Marshall, who is a dementia specialist and consultant. But we're talking about caregiving and caregivers and what kinds of questions you might have around things that you need to be aware of, right? So, for example, the first question we have is like, what are the best resources to guide caregivers both for self-care and for care of the patient or the person that they're caring for, the loved one? Um, so, the first kind of category would be like under health and well-being, for example. So, is the caregiver, the caregiver's focus is on the person that they're caregiving, right? Uh, for. And so making sure that that person meets their medical appointments and gets to the places that they need to go, that's really the top of mind. And that's really what's going on with them in their mind about, I make sure that, anytime my person has something medical, I'm there, I'm taking them, I'm getting them, all that. However, as the caregiver, I need to make sure that I keep my own medical appointments, that can get lost sometimes. And I mean, actually, it's happened to me that I've completely forgotten about an appointment that I had for myself.
Mm.
So, what other kinds of things are you, under like health and wellness would be something that you see pretty much on a daily basis in that regard?
I mean, it's an exhausting, it can be very exhausting to be a caregiver. So as a caregiver, your own mental faculties are so focused on the care of the loved one that you simply can forget the routines that you had, be it taking your own supplements or
Oh,
making sure you eat enough protein or just the nutritional things that happen. Sometimes the patient is on a strict diet for maybe chemo or different things like that. So you're changing your eating habits in order to care for them. It just fluctuates for everyone, but trying to come up with your own checklist of what you need to do for yourself every day as far
mm.
as nutrition and supplements and drinking enough water and getting enough sleep. I mean, that's a hard thing to do. It's harder than people who aren't in on that journey can even imagine.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
I
then,
forgot bags under my eyes this morning because I didn't get it very well, because
yeah,
he was restless all night long. So,
right,
I couldn't
right.
sleep.
Skipping a hair appointment is one thing, but skipping your own medical doctor checkup. All states are different as to what's available, but there are many of us that qualify for in-home healthcare, just a physical and exam.
Mm,
I get calls all the time from them wanting to come to my house, and I'm like, well, I'm well enough to go to the doctor's office. But the reason they're doing that is they have funding and aid available for those services. So don't be shy about taking them up on that. You don't have to think of yourself as I'm not the one who needs the home visit. My spouse is
mhm.
or my mother is, but take advantage of the help that's offered to you is a key. So
Got it.
we tend as caregivers, we tend to minimize the importance of what we need.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And of course, in stress too, there's just sometimes the things are just it's the little things. It's almost like death by a thousand cuts because it just starts to mound up and it's just, you are stepping on my last nerve kind of a thing. You're
Yeah.
this one last request and it might, it's just so innocent. And
Yeah.
it's something that needs to happen.
Yeah.
Help me to the bathroom. And it's like I can't take it,
Yeah.
you know? So you just you get up to this point where, so managing that um internal turmoil
Yeah.
is also, and that's through, like you would recommend mindfulness kind of thing, right? Meditation and breathing and those kinds of things.
Well, just when you're in the midst of anything that's causing you anxiety, the first thing we forget to do is breathe. We get tense, we
Mm-hmm.
start to hold our breath. We're taking shallow breaths.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing I would say is take a deep enough breath that you can hear yourself exhale and feel those shoulders calm down. And it's not drastic in the moment of crisis, but it does help. And then you get your own breath. They say put your oxygen mask on first before
Yes.
helping your, yeah.
Yes.
And that's kind of the thought, but we forget to do that because we're caught up in the crisis of the moment.
Mm.
Um, and then just sometimes just closing your eyes. So you're blocking off the visual of what's going on and picturing your peaceful place, which you can create. It can be a beach, it can whatever in your mind. It's like your little momentary escape of
Yeah.
2 seconds of closing your eyes, picturing the beach, breathing in and breathing out and just kind of that, oh. And then, damn it, I don't want to open my eyes, but I have to. So you open your eyes and you're back into the present. But
Right. Just let me be. I'm on planet Claire somewhere. Just let me
yeah,
be.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if you have the opportunity, I share with some of mine that, they're frustrated with, like you just expressed. If you have a way to go outside the door, out to the living room window and be looking at your loved one, watching them and talking back to them so that they can't hear what you're saying, but you get it off your chest, or just grounding in the grass or something. It's a new perspective and you got
Yeah.
fresh air on your side. So,
Oh,
yeah.
it would be nice, except I can't step out it from 5 stories up.
You'd fall, what, 8 stories or something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, shoot. So another aspect of things that caregivers need to think about is, you know, what do they have anything in place in case they get sick or they
Backup
get run
plan.
over, yeah, run over by a truck or something
Yeah.
that because that when I that I didn't have any options when both of us had COVID.
Hmm.
But when if I had been truly laid low or hospital had needed to be hospitalized for
Hmm.
COVID, then I don't know what would have happened. So from that point, I know now that there's a couple of family members I could probably call to say, hey, listen, I can't. Can you pick up some slack for me?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
how do you
Well,
approach that
I
with
I
your
kind of
clients?
equate it to when you have young kids and you create a will, like if something happens to me, who is gonna be the guardian of the kids? You kind of have
Mm,
to think of it that way and just plan ahead. And it start that networking. Some people do it through churches, some people do it through family, um, and or then even to the extent of reaching out to those in-home care services that are local to you, interviewing them, getting comfortable with them, just so you've taken care of the precursor of things to have to call, you know, there's like something called Mom Instead that I think is nationwide. There's home care. There's a oodles of them, but they're not the same in every state. So
right.
you set up an appointment with them, you interview them, and you say, hey, I'm here. I might need respite care. And then you actually try a day where you have that respite care come even while you're home managing your loved one as well as introducing them. It's harder with dementia because a stranger coming into their home can be an issue. So we kind of test drive it.
Mm,
But with your husband being fine about, okay, so Susie's going to come be with you while I go get my blood pressure checked or different things like that. So you have to test drive it so that it's not also part of the urgency of whatever causes you to need the help.
got it. Okay. Alrighty. Yeah, that's a big.
There's visiting angels, and I think they're national as
I,
well.
I was going to ask you what the keywords were to Google to find that. Just respite care or
Yeah,
senior care or
respite care, and you can put in your zip code, and it will. Google's amazing that way. It
yeah.
doesn't vet them. So I encourage people to do the interview yourself.
Mm,
They can come
hmm.
out to the house, do an assessment for you. Um, but I always think that there should be, they might have a 4 hour minimum. Have them come for 4 hours and help while you just get your peace of mind. Maybe you can take a full shower instead of a 5 minute dash and
Mm,
just different things that you can incorporate your own
yeah.
self-care too.
And I've just become aware of that there are actual caregiver online groups
Hmm.
in the various platforms, whether like Facebook or is
Yeah.
there, I guess Facebook would be or LinkedIn or where have you
Facebook
found
seems
them?
to have a big following of groups for caregivers
Mm,
independently of a family. I'm involved in a lot of the dementia ones. And what's nice about it is somebody's there hearing you, whatever the problem is. If you're, 2 in the morning, somebody's going to respond because they're up too. And there's the professional services, and then there's just the finding your tribe that's going through the same thing you are
mm,
and getting that support. Um, Sometimes the peer-to-peer support is not, gets too clinical and it may not be appropriate for it's not comparable, but at least it's something. And somebody usually says, call your doctor in the morning, or just encouraging words.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's, and I'm sure there's more than Facebook. Um, Churches, lots of times, elder churches will have like a network of people that can help and guide if you are involved in a church. And um, you just have to open your heart to finding that support. And then sometimes you got to step back on the control of how you see it happening and see what shows up
Yeah.
and what what they can provide for you, um, to give you some respite.
Okay. So you mentioned, like um programs where like for respite. There's also, I think, some states will actually have programs, or they used to, I don't know if they just still do, where like family members who stop working to care for one of, their family, or will can get some kind of a stipend from the state to
Yes,
care. How,
yeah.
how, how do you go about looking for that? I mean, what
Each state
what
is
depart
unique, and some states are more advanced than others.
Mhm.
But again, Google's the best resource for families to look into what's available. State of Washington has been very progressive with that, and I know people who have qualified for getting paid. You're not going to get paid 40 hours a week, but you can get something and qualify to be a caregiver. And then now that so many families, after the COVID schmovid, people are working from home that they
Mm,
didn't before. So that's kind of an advantage for the family caregiver too, to be able to stay employed in many cases, or at least go from full-time to part-time.
right, right.
Um, but there are resources out there, and checking with the people in your local area. I've seen people ask those questions on Facebook and they say, what state are you in? And then there's somebody hops in and answers because they're in that same state. They've gone down that journey and they can answer that question and direct them to the right place.
Okay. Cool, cool. Yeah, and you've mentioned, making sure you have a will, and you have like a healthcare directive,
Mhm.
and you have someone that will be like a proxy for you and that kind of thing. That's all. I've already had that. I've taken care of
Yeah.
that. But it
The
is
medical power of attorney and the
attorney.
power of attorney can be two
Yeah,
different
POA.
people,
Yeah,
right? One
right.
one manages the money, one manages the
It's the health.
medical. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
And I always
Um,
encourage families to begin the journey of helping pay the bills and those kind of things, so you know how to access it
mhm.
should something happen, in terms of cognition or else other, and having those logins helpful. It's a leap for some people to cross that threshold of trust. So that can be navigated gently as well.
Mm,
But just
yeah,
having that information when you need it, there's an emergency and they want they want the credit card at the counter before you go back to see the doctor. Do you have access to those kind of things? So
right.
yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. That good point. Yes. Um, let's see. Was there anything else that was around that whole subject that I wanted to ask you about?
Well, the one thing that I thought of after we spoke was, we think of self-care as getting a manicure, getting your hair done. In terms of women, I don't want to neglect the males out there. There's a lot of male caregivers. P- The higher percentage is women, but they're just, what is self-care to you? It may not be going and getting a pedicure. It might be something that you missed going to your yoga class.
Mm,
You miss just a walk without any noise, without anyone interrupting you. And how do you find time for those kind of things? Um, And maybe the male just wants to go tinker on his Harley without, having to stop and do things that are new to his role.
Mhm.
So what brings you that peace of mind that you need can also be a very valuable part of self-care. And,
Yeah,
and it can be, like I said before, just closing your eyes and imagining something different. It can be stepping into the garage where it's quiet and thinking on your own. It can be standing outside and kicking your shoes off and putting your feet in the grass,
and
which is
grounding.
very
Mhm.
grounding.
Yeah.
So, um, you have to kind of think outside of those lines of what we think self-care is. Like they're like, oh, I don't have time for a massage, right? So you put off any kind of self-care.
Right.
Just encourage people to think, what can make me laugh right now? Maybe it's cranking up the stereo and dancing in front of your loved one or with your loved one and raising that energy in the room.
Mm.
Music is great for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and laughter is good.
Yeah.
Especially if it's shared. I mean, because some of the things that happen, they're so absurd and they're so, you could go either way. It could be seen as this, oh my God, or you can just laugh, right?
Right. Laughter
And
is a good medicine.
it is a good medicine.
Yeah.
And I just, yeah, it's helped diffuse a pretty volatile situation before with
Yeah.
my husband and me,
Yeah.
just having to laugh. Just
Well, any medical decline is heavy, right? So how
yeah.
do you lighten the load? Watching comedy shows or,
Mm,
like I said, music, dance,
yeah.
humming. Even if you're humming throughout your day, you're raising your own frequency.
True that.
So,
True that.
yeah.
Um, I there's a couple of three other questions, and then we're going to take a little quick break. Um, the first one that came in was, are if for example the question, it comes from a person that wants to know if since they're close to a person that actually takes care, so they're not the caregiver but they're once removed, right? What are your recommendations for how to support that person who's caregiving?
There's a couple different ways. First is to ask, how can I help? Now, it's hard for caregivers to accept and receive help. They're giving. That's
Oh
what
yeah.
they're giving. They're give. So it's hard for them to learn we can receive too.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also they've been in control of everything. So it's like that control. So offering, how can I help? If you don't get an answer, then how about I just bring us lunch and I'll come over, I'll be there at 1 o'clock. And
Yeah.
then baby steps of let me visit with your whoever. Well, you go ahead and go out and get the mail. Just let me sit here and talk to them and give you, just those little breathers.
Right.
Uh, and not all caregiving is moment by moment. Dementia pretty much is constant supervision.
Mhm.
So it depends on the stage of any of these. But
Right.
learning to receive whatever's offered. And then just little things like we've gotten away from sending a cute little card or dropping flowers off on bringing flowers or something that would cheer the caregiver as well as the
The
patient.
person being cared for. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Little cards, little funny cards in the mail, or you can do texts. Sometimes starting a conversation with a text isn't what they need. It's just something they can open the envelope and see the cute little card
Yeah.
after they may get them to bed, and that might bring a smile to their face.
That's
Yeah.
great. Great answer. Any advice that you have about when somebody's caregiving for someone presenting with dementia, around how to stay kind of in an emotional, healthy place, or have a boundary, or a stronger boundary? I understand that when you're in this caregiving space, where you end and the other person begins gets very thin, and that's the classic codependence, right? So how does one maintain healthy emotional boundaries when you're dealing with someone who's who's presenting with dementia?
That's a good question. It is an emotional journey.
Mm.
So there's constant emotion. You know, the grief starts way before normal grieving starts. And again, trying to know that what they do say or the actions that they're taking is not the real person that you loved. It can be chemical imbalance with the meds they're on. It can just be anything that's happening. And trying to separate yourself from that as taking it personally,
Mm.
although it may be a verbal, personal, insult, and separating yourself from that is really hard to do.
Yeah.
So understanding that you value yourself, you're doing the best you can with what you know right now. You might find out something next week that says, "Oh, you should have done it differently." That's next week. You didn't know that then. You knew it now. You made the best choice that you could make
Yeah.
in whatever that decision is. And like I put this scarf on today for this, and I thought, you know what? I used to tell people to put on a cape. So your superpower, maybe just some symbol of this. You decide to put on a beautiful scarf or some kind of a superhero cape, something, even if it's just a visual. It's like I'm standing in my power. I know I'm doing the right thing, and creating that energetic boundary. And then there's always, as I know you teach, is having your own crystals, having something that separates you, that allows you to have this like plastic beam me up Scotty bubble around you where you're just nothing's going to get through.
Yes.
And that can be crystals. It can be a little bit of space. Like we learned social distancing with COVID, right? It's just
Yes.
back up and get out of their aura. And
Yeah. Go into another room and yeah,
yeah,
so you can
yeah,
still hear them, right?
yeah.
One last question. And this is mostly for families. If a parent is declining and the siblings are not on the same page about care or the severity of the condition, what what do you do, or how do you handle that conflict?
So where I step in is I look at I was very fortunate with two siblings. So the three of us could talk, we could email, we could navigate it and decide what to do.
Hmm.
Three is not always an equal number for voting, by the way, but it worked. And there are some that are, yeah, might not have seen your sister for 30 years. And then all of a sudden you're forced to kind of go into business together. So you find the strengths of each person and try to break up those tasks best you can, so that maybe one lives out of state away from the loved one. So they're the ones that manage the prescriptions um, of the renewals or the
Oh, the
90-day
refills.
supply and those
Mm-hmm.
things, the refills. Yeah, right word. Um, and then somebody else, stacks the pills in the little cases so it's done. And the other one is the right person to help pay the bills, and try to divide and conquer best you can. Unfortunately, many times it winds up one person. The
Yeah,
other can be detached. There can be conflict. There can be legal action. It can go down any number of roads. And it's
right.
very sad. It's very sad for me to see how much money is involved in some of those decisions. And it's 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 the true person comes out when you have to step up
Yeah.
and help
Well,
someone else.
you know,
And
when you're trying to, yeah, go ahead.
sometimes there's past trauma that someone can't get over to do it.
Yes.
And it
Yes.
could, some kind of family trauma that
Yes.
that is really hard to,
Or you have a sibling in denial.
yeah.
You know
Very
that.
many times a sibling is in denial. And I don't think I answered that part of the question, but
No.
educating them is best. It's an emotional journey. So sometimes there's an emotional block between, I don't really want to believe this. So they are in denial. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's really
One-on-one,
hard.
face-to-face experience is the best way to convince them that yes, there is a problem.
Yeah.
Not, I had a 10-minute phone conversation with them and they seem fine to me. And that I hear that all the time. So yeah,
Yeah, that's good. Thank you for
yeah.
addressing that, because I think that was really the crux of the whole question there. is
Yeah.
that it seems that this person was struggling to get the sibling to understand that it's real.
Yeah.
Um,
Best way for
so
that is come spend a day with them. I'm going to go to the zoo.
cool beans, cool beans. Okay, well, we're going to take another quick break. And when we come back to Faith's point, I have some recommendations for crystals and stones to use to support caregiving and caregivers and the kinds of things that you feel every day. So
I
we'll be right
can't wait
back.
to hear.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll be right back. And don't go away. Come on back. Hi there. Welcome back to the Crystal Coach Show, where we've been talking about caregiving and caregivers and the kinds of things that you need to be aware of and plan for and cope with. Speaking of coping, it wouldn't be the Crystal Coach Show without some recommendations for stones and crystals to use to address some of these stressors and fears and overwhelm and burnout that comes with the territory when you're a caregiver. So, just in my experience, the thing that when I get out of my body and really like uh my thoughts are taking an A train, a real speed train, bullet train, and I need to slow down, I need to drop, and I'm out of my body. The best thing that I've ever had for that is hematite. And I've talked to you guys before about hematite, but I feel like it is the be here now stone. So it's grounding, it it brings you back in your body, and it also helps you to stay present. Because a lot of what happens is we project out into the future or we reflect into the past, and we completely lose touch with what's going on in the moment. And you may miss some kind of clue about the person you're caregiving for because you're not with them. Physically you are, but your mind is not with them. And so hematite is really good to kind of help bring you back into the present, and so that you can respond from that place rather than being scattered all over the place. So that's one of my favorite go-tos.
That one's kind
um
of big for my pocket, though.
well, they come in all kinds of shapes and sizes. This one is an actual a raw piece
Mm.
of obsidian that I'm showing. Not, excuse me, hematite that I'm showing you. The polished ones are much more common and prevalent, but they all have this really super shiny surface that's kind of reflective, mirror-like, you know. So that's that. Then let me see. I have a bunch. Yeah, I'm always talking to you about black tourmaline. Black tourmaline transmutes negativity to clear light. So when you're feeling really negative, or you feel like you just need to clear the energy in the space where you are, or the space where the person that you're caring for is, this is the go-to stone. And you can wear it, you can put it in your bra or pocket, and you can place it in the room or around things just to kind of absorb that negativity and clear it out. Always a good go-to stone. And when you get burned out, when you get overwhelmed, when you just feel like you're stuck, it's almost like paralyzed will. The frequency of carnelian is, this is a fire element to help you create and manifest. So the frequency of carnelian always puts you into a place of action. So if you just need a little kind of kick in the energetic kick in the pants to get off your duff, or to really do the things that you need to do, um, in order to be you know be in this place of caregiving, this is a great frequency to have with you, hold with you, meditate with it. Just, it's like, I feel so stuck. I need to get out of that. Help me, kind of take that leap of faith into whatever action is needed. Yeah.
That
So,
sounds like that's a good one for when you feel like you're running on empty.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's it's a kind of a little recharger. You know,
Mhm.
it kind of recharges your energy and helps you move forward. Um, and of course, we wouldn't talk about care and caregiving without talking about rose quartz, because rose quartz is the frequency of love. And the love here that we're talking about is love of self first. And that's the one thing I think that as a caregiver I forget, is that I love my husband deeply, and I do love myself, but I'm so focused on making sure everything's okay for him that I forget to love on myself. So the rose quartz frequency helps you to remember to be kinder, talk softly and sweetly to yourself. Yeah. Um, then there's Apache tear. Apache tear is a form of obsidian, which is made from a volcanic glass. And there's all kinds of obsidian. Most of it is kind of translucent or opaque. Any piece of obsidian might have a small little edge that you can kind of see through. Uh, this is really smoky when you look at it. It is a frequency. I use it, I call it the grief sponge. And so when you're feeling kind of, really that you're feeling that grief come up, um, working with or having this or meditating with a piece of Apache tear is going to really help ease that feeling of sadness and nostalgia, and the whole, you get grief around what was. And that the other thing is just you need to be in a place of what is, which is why the hematite helps. Also, lepidolite is another good one for what is and to kind of calm the mind. And it's not anywhere in front of me, so I've shown it to you before. It's a nice flat little piece of purple kind of mica-ish. It's shiny, and it has lithium as its primary formulation. Its primary mineral is lithium. So lithium was used back in the day for a sedative. So it is very calming. So anytime you feel really stressed out, a piece of lepidolite in your pocket will help you calm down a lot. Um,
Or
then
the
when,
or the patient.
or the patient too. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
You slip that flat piece of lepidolite between the pillow and the pillowcase inside. So it's not the head is not on the actual piece, but it's underneath the pillow, but
Mhm.
it's not going to fall anywhere because it's inside the pillowcase.
Yeah.
And that helps. That really does help quieten the mind, right?
Mhm.
Then let me see. What else am I going to talk about? If you're feeling stuck and you in your mind and like you have to make a decision but you're not really sure, uh oh, what am I supposed to do, how do I figure this out, ask for some clarity with clear quartz. Clear quartz will bring clarity. It also amplifies anything else that you're using. So you can put clear quartz with rose quartz, you can put clear quartz with carnelian, you can put clear quartz with hematite. Anything that you put with it is going to be amplified. So it's a really good tool that way. Then last but not least, when you feel like you just, teacher, may I be excused, my brain is full. You just need to let go of a lot of stuff. There's always aquamarine. The frequency of aquamarine has to do with letting go, with releasing. So, you can just ask, you can, as you mentioned, Faith, you can stand outside and put your feet in the ground. And if you've got a piece of aquamarine with you, you can just ask for all of the stuff that's not yours or not in your highest best good, just to be drained off of you. And it works, it's great. And I have a lot more, but we're out of time.
Can I
So
add one little brief thing?
yes, absolutely.
So you brought up staying present, and that is kind of the bow to tie around this package. I know that caregiving doesn't feel like a blessing, but I'm going to try to not cry. When they're gone, that's what you have, and you gave yourself to them. So appreciate and value that. And
Yes.
that's why humor really helps, just to make those, I remember my brother getting us all up at 2 a.m. and asking why we were sitting there. And I was like, well, you're the one who started this party, and
Yeah.
that's just giving yourself that value, and it
And
is
that
a blessing,
grace. Yes,
even
and
though it
that
doesn't seem
grace.
like it when it goes on for years. But
Right. And
yeah,
Faith, and people can find you at www dot
dementiafamilycoaching.com.
yes, and you'd have a free consult call, and
Yes.
they can book that online, right?
Yes, and you
Okay.
can call, you can email. I also have a Facebook group for those that are involved with dementia
Okay.
called Journey to Dementia Land. And if you search that on Facebook, I'd be happy to help you with that journey too. So thank you.
Great. Thank you very much for being here today, Faith. I really appreciate it. And
Thank
that
you.
wraps another episode of the Crystal Coach Show. Thanks for joining us. I'm Anahata Roach, and see you next time. You have been listening to the Crystal Coach Show, helping you live every day with clarity, guidance, and practical wisdom. With me, your host, Anahata. Tune in every third Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific Time on TransformationTalkRadio.com, where we channel divine wisdom through stories of service, spirituality, and stones for self-care. Feel connected and reside in the vibration of love on The Crystal Coach Show. For more information and to become the best version of yourself, visit thecrystalcoach.com. That's thecrystalcoach.com. See you next time.